Hi guys! Today we are going to do a full face of makeup I have been neglecting. I have so many products in my collection that I neglect, most of which I really like, because I do try to keep a collection of only products that I really like. And somehow there are always things that I just forget about. So I wanted to do a full face reminding myself how great these products are. This video was totally inspired by Simply Blair. If you don't watch her, you should. I will link her channel below. Her voice is so relaxing, and those are always the channels that I gravitate towards, people with calming voices. She's just such a pleasure to watch, so I'll link her channel below. She does these videos pretty regularly, and it reminded me I need to use my neglected products. So let's get started. For primer today, I'm going to be using the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Niacinamide Dewdrops. I love this product, but for some reason, actually I know the reason, I don't use it as primer, even though it is a beautiful primer. And the reason I neglect it is the same reason I neglect most primers. Also, I decided today to give my hair a break from heat styling because I've been using heat on my hair so much over the last few weeks that I decided today, like, we're just gonna give it a break, let it just air dry. So this is what it looks like. I do feel like that's one of the downsides of having a short haircut like this, is like you kind of have to style it more than you do long hair. But anyway, so the reason why I neglect this primer, even though I love it, is that I never really know how to fit primers into my routine, because I'm keenly aware of the fact that primers, especially ones like this that are really serumy, could really disrupt your sunscreen if you put them on top of sunscreen. And that's usually how I feel like primers work best, is when they're kind of like the first step of your makeup routine after all your skincare. But this is very much a serum, and it's actually marketed as both a skincare and a makeup product. And so I guess I could use it under my sunscreen, but I store it with my makeup because I also like to use it as a mixer sometimes, although I don't find myself doing that either. So I could either start storing it with my skincare so that I remember to use it pre-sunscreen, or I can wear it on days that I'm putting on makeup, like after the sun has gone down, which we are getting to that time of year where the sun goes down earlier and earlier, and pretty soon after daylight savings the sun will be going down at like 4 p.m. and so a lot of times, I mean, it depends, but a lot of times I'll be doing a look like to get ready to film and it's already like 3 p.m. so I'm like, well, there's no point in putting sunscreen on now because I'm like not even gonna leave the house. So on those kinds of days I think it makes sense to use this. So I think as we get into the winter and into the darker days of winter, I will have more reasons to use this. And that's not to say that you don't need sunscreen in the winter. You definitely do. And I do wear sunscreen in the winter when I go outside during daylight hours, but there are just way fewer daylight hours in the winter. So I find myself skipping sunscreen occasionally if it's a day that I'm not leaving my house. That's my very long-winded story as to why I don't use this product, even though it is beautiful. It gives such a nice glow to the skin. It's almost a little bit sticky too, which I think makes it really great under makeup because it almost acts as a gripping primer, and I swear my makeup just wears beautifully on top of this. The foundation I feel like I've been neglecting, even though I love it, is the Physicians Formula Butter Believe It foundation. This I have in the shade Fair, and this is such a good foundation. I don't normally go for full coverage foundations, and this one, I mean, as you'll see, I don't think I apply these days. I don't apply a ton of foundation, so I don't know if I apply enough of this to get truly full coverage, but it is higher coverage than all of my other foundations, and I think these breakouts are really annoying me. I've been breaking out solely on my chin. I think I will be getting back to using this more now that it's fall. For some reason, and I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I tend to reach for more matte, full coverage products in the fall and winter because that's typically when I'm doing more glam looks. And in the summer, I just want really lightweight, light coverage. I don't know, I just think of this foundation as more of a winter foundation. So I think I will be more inclined to use this in the winter, also because my skin, at least last winter, so we'll see if it happens again this winter, but my skin actually got more oily last winter because the air here is actually very humid and moist in the winter, whereas in the summer it's more dry. So It's kind of backwards from how a lot of places are, but I actually feel like I am getting pretty high coverage with this. I didn't even use a full pump, and I am applying with a sponge, which usually will shear things out a little bit, but I actually think I'm getting like pretty high coverage. Like, you can still, I mean, you can still kind of see my breakouts, but they're definitely not as noticeable. This would be a really great foundation if you needed something full coverage and matte in the summertime, because it's very long wearing and it will hold up well against humidity. So it's not that I don't think it's a good summer foundation, it's just that it's not what I tend to reach for in the summer. I kind of rotate through my concealers pretty evenly because I only have, I think, 4, and I just kind of rotate them one after another in my everyday makeup drawer. But the one I feel like I neglect the most is the Tarte Shape Tape Ultra Creamy Concealer. I don't know why. It's just like, for some reason, this concealer doesn't really stand out to me. It's not that I don't like this concealer. I think it's perfectly nice. And I do have just the mini size. I still feel like there's a ton in here. How much does this come with? 0.16 fluid ounces. That is kind of a lot, actually, for a mini. Like, I have some full-size lip glosses that come with less than that amount. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of, I've never tried the original Tarte Shape Tape, but this is kind of nice. It kind of reminds me of the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo. It's maybe a little bit lighter weight than that one though, but it's, you know, it's a little bit hydrating, still has good coverage. It's not like the highest coverage ever, but I mean, it's pretty good coverage. So I don't know why, like, this is one of those things I don't know why I neglect it, because I do like it. I don't have any issues with it, so I don't really know. I just love my NYX Bear With Me concealer so much that it's like always my go-to choice. Next product I've been neglecting is the NYX Wonder Stick. I don't know why I don't reach for this very much. Part of it could be because I am kind of prioritizing my Oma contour stick, which is also a dual-ended cream contour and highlight stick, and that one that one is really old, and so I'm kind of trying to use it up. So that's kind of like the first one I go for, but this is a really nice cream contour. I actually like it better than the Oma because it's a little bit longer wearing. I've actually done a side-by-side wear test before, and this one actually is longer wearing, and it's a really beautiful tone too. It's almost rosy. It's like a rosy taupe contour, and it's just really nice. NYX, I know I've said this before, but I really feel like NYX makes some of the best products at the drugstore. Like, so many of their products rival high-end. And as you can see, the other really nice thing about this contour stick is that you can draw it directly onto your face and blend it out, which is really rare to see in a stick product. So yeah, that's really beautiful. And I'll also use the cream highlighter. I actually had to fix this because it broke, so it's actually looking a lot shorter than it used to, because I essentially dug out what was stuck in the bottom, and then I just pressed the broken end of the stick down in there, so that's what's left of it. I'll just draw it on. I feel like, in general, I neglect my cream highlighters more than my powder highlighters. For some reason, I don't know, I just prefer powder highlighter, even though my creams are really pretty. It's more so that I feel like they kind of get lost under my setting powder, and so I'm kind of like, I don't know, I don't really get the point of a cream highlight unless you're putting it over your powder, which maybe you could, but I don't know, that usually doesn't go over too well for me. So next I'm going to set everything with a powder that, again, I don't know why I don't use it, because I really like it. It's the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Powder in Pound Cake. I think the reason I've been neglecting this is just because, well, for one thing, I don't like the packaging. This is the mini size of this powder, and the full size isn't like this, but the mini has this, so you flip this up and then twist it, and it has this puff on the end that I don't use because, I don't know, I just don't think there's a way to clean the puff, and it's just going to be sitting in there, and I don't know, this is like too small. I'm not about the puff. So that's one thing that kind of deters me from using this. The other thing I think is just that I have been using my e.l.f. light pink powder so much. I love that powder, and usually if I'm reaching for a loose powder, I'm using it on my under eyes, and this is more of like an almost, it's a very, very light yellow, like almost undetectably yellow, but it does have a little bit of a yellow undertone to it, which I don't mind necessarily, but I mean, it's really, oh, this isn't the brush I wanted. Oh well. And this is a beautiful powder. Like, I definitely do see why people like this. Very, very smoothing and mattifying. I'm also going to use this on my entire face. I'll just use the same brush. This is the BK Beauty 110. So I just kind of like swirl my brush around in there. And then I'm mainly just going to set my T-zone today, because this foundation is pretty mattifying for the most part. I wouldn't say it's like a self-setting foundation, but it'll kind of set that contour, but I am trying to avoid where I put the highlight. The blush I've been neglecting the most, I'm so sad to say, is Koki Bellissima. So I repressed this. It used to be a gradient blush, and I wanted it to be a solid color because I just felt like the gradient, it went from a really deep to a really light shade, and it was just kind of hard to get an even color on my brush. So I repressed it, and I even took out a little bit of the dark red to just lighten the color. And ever since I repressed it, I've only used it twice. The first time I used it, I just felt like it went on really weird, like there was just something really off about it. And then I used it again actually yesterday, but I was layering it on top of the NYX Sweet Cheeks blush in Nude Tude, so it was a little bit harder to tell, but I felt like it went on better that time. So we're gonna try it today by itself and just see how it looks, because I just felt like, I don't know, the color was almost off too the first time I used it. And that's never happened to me with repressing things. It's still really pigmented. Like, even though I lightened the shade, it's still going on very strong. I almost think it looks pinker than it used to. Like, it's almost like the rubbing alcohol brought out a pinkness that wasn't there before. I don't know, I just feel like it looks a little harsh. Maybe repressing it was a mistake. Or something about the formula just doesn't do well being repressed with alcohol. But I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm having trouble blending it. Like, it's kind of sticking to where I placed it. But I'm gonna leave it alone. I don't know. What do you think? I just feel like the color looks strange, like almost pink. And it used to be such a warm, like sunburnt reddish peach. It's like a different blush now. I don't get it. I don't really have an eyeshadow primer that I neglect because I only have two. So I'm just using my Urban Decay Primer Potion, which is really good, but I don't think it's better than the Milani. Just FYI. For brows, I definitely neglect my NYX brow glue because I just like my Ardell brow glue better. It kind of does more of what I wanted this type of product to do. The NYX brow glue, it is kind of sticky like a glue, but it's not, it doesn't laminate your brows and it doesn't hold them into place for 12 plus hours the way the Ardell one does. This one I have in the shade Taupe, but the way I like to use it is just kind of, you know, comb it through my brows. Pretty self-explanatory. But then I will press my brow hairs into place with the e.l.f. Brow Lift Applicator. I also use this with the Ardell brow glue. It doesn't, like, this doesn't hold them down all day, like they will kind of pop up, but I still like the kind of smoothed out look that that gives. Anyway, I will use this because it's not bad. And the nice thing about it is you can apply it after you've applied your foundation, whereas the Ardell, you have to do it before foundation. And then I will go in with my NYX Lift and Snatch Brow Pen to fill in and just add a few little hairs to my brows. This is not a neglected product by any means. I use this almost daily. The eyeshadows that I neglect the most, the Flower Lights palettes. I pulled out all three of mine because I want to maybe do a look using all of them today, like just kind of dip back and forth into each one. But I love these palettes. I have spoken so highly of them over the years on my channel, but for whatever reason, especially over the past like year or so, I just do not reach for these. So I have the Desert Lights, which is possibly my favorite. I love these tones. I also have Coastal Lights, which has some fun like pastel colors in it. And then Jungle Lights. This is the first one I got. Still in the original, it's actually in the original black packaging, now it's white packaging. The reason I don't use these, I have figured out, is because they're all shimmer palettes. And even though I love shimmers, I'm usually also using mattes in my looks. what I think these palettes are really good for, especially like Desert Lights, is one and done looks. Like you can just pick any of these shades and do a one and done shadow look, but I don't usually grab for a palette when I want to do a one and done look. Usually when I'm doing a one and done look, I'm kind of in a hurry, so I'm just gonna grab like one ColourPop Super Shock shadow or one eyeshadow stick and do my one and done look that way, because that's just what's easiest. So that's my explanation as to why I don't use these. We're going to use them today. I also pulled out my ABH Sultry palette because this is another thing I just, especially for most of this year, I haven't used this a whole lot, and this one has some mattes in it that I think will go well with these lights palettes. I kind of want to do something warm toned, so I think I'll start my look with Birch from Sultry. This is almost like more of a camel brown color. I'll just do that to start out my crease. So I'm actually going to reach into Desert Lights first, and I'm actually going to start with the deepest shade. This is called Terra. It's a nice warm brown, and I'm actually going to use that to deepen up the outer corner of my eye, kind of starting it right above the lash line and then working it up towards the crease. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a really nice toasty, warm fall look today. So I also pulled out a really fun fall lip liner. Okay, so I'll blend more later, but that definitely added some really nice depth. So next shade I'm gonna dip into is in the Jungle Lights palette, and this is probably my favorite shade in here. It's the shade Tiger Lily. It's this beautiful metallic red. I've had this palette for a long time, and these shades are still really creamy. So that's good to know that they don't dry out really quickly, even though they are kind of like cream shadows. So this I'm tapping basically in the center of my lid and then overlapping it with the brown. Ooh, yeah, this is so fun. Going back to Desert Lights now, the next shade I'm going to dip into is Horizon, which is, I don't even know how to describe it, like a rose goldy copper. Yeah, there's like a lot going on in this shade. So this I'm going to apply right here in the inner third of my lid, and again just overlapping it with the red. I still want to dip into Coastal Lights. I think I'll use the kind of champagne color in the middle called Dunes and pop that in my inner corner. That's really pretty. The shades in here, some of the shades in here are a little bit more satin, whereas in the original like Jungle Lights and Desert Lights, those shades are all really foiled and intense. These are just a little bit softer. Like they still have a lot of impact, you can see, but this shade is definitely more, like really this whole row here is a lot more subdued. So I'm going back to that fluffy crease brush that I started with, and I'm just blending all around the edges just to soften everything. I'm actually going to take a little bit more of Terra and smudge that down on the lower lash line too. Doesn't take much, like a little goes a very long way with this shade. Going back to Sultry now, the last shade I'm going to use is Fresh, just to clean up the brow bones. I'm just sweeping that right under the brow. I always like to take a little bit out here as well. Loving this eye look. My setting spray I want to use today is this one. It has no name on it, but this is the Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Hydrating Setting Spray. I transferred it into this bottle that originally had a Makeup Revolution setting spray in it because the flower sprayer was just really weird. And I think funnily enough, that's the reason why I don't use this, is because it's in this like very bland bottle that has no name on it. And I feel like when I'm filming, it's kind of like, I just gravitate more towards products that have the name and that look the way they're gonna look if you were to buy them. Even though I know it doesn't matter. I think that's part of why I don't reach for this. Even though it is a really nice setting spray, it is hydrating, gives a little bit of a glow, as you can see, but it also helps lock my makeup into place, so it kind of gives the best of both worlds. I have so been neglecting really both of these mascaras because ever since I tried the e.l.f. Lash Extender, it's all I want to use. But these are the other two mascaras I have open, the 100% Pure Fruit Pigmented and the Ciate Wonder Wand. I'm going to use the 100% Pure one today because this one I'm actually supposed to retire in like a week. So time is running out. Oh, I completely forgot that I was going to use an eyeliner. I think as a whole, I neglect my entire eyeliner collection because I just don't use eyeliner a whole lot these days, but I have all these eyeliners that I really should use. I think for this look, I'll use my NYX, I need to sharpen this, but this is the NYX Epic Wear Liner Stick in Rose Gold. I really love this liner, actually. Of all my liners, I think this is probably my favorite, or one of my favorites. I don't know, I just don't think to reach for my eyeliners for some reason. But this one is really pretty for just kind of popping on the lower lash line. I'm gonna take that all the way across. It's really pretty. It just gives a nice little shimmer. It is a metallic shade, and it just gives a really pretty, see how that just like really brightens up the whole eye? And finally for the lips, I picked out my gigantic Wet n Wild lip liner in Brandy Wine. This is so a fall color to me that I don't really use it any other time of year, but 'tis the season. So this is going to be my lip liner today. For some reason I always think this is going to be super dark, but it's really not. Like, it's pretty light and wearable. And apparently this was like a makeup artist cult favorite in like the 90s or something, and I just think it's cool that it's still around. So to top that off, I'm going to use my Rimmel Stay Glossy lip gloss in the shade Bare Minimum. I rarely use this. I've had this for quite a while, and I've actually been keeping it upright to see how much I have left. You can actually see I've used this much. Like, that's all. This actually is my next oldest doe foot applicator lip gloss after the Minori one, which I just finished. So this will be the next one that I focus on. I'm also focusing on my Kopari lip glossies. I have two, because those are actually older than this. But for a doe foot lip gloss, this is going to be my next one that I want to use up. It is a perfectly nice gloss. It smells like baby wipes, and I really don't like that. I do not like when brands put that scent into products. But it's not like an overpowering smell, and it doesn't bother me that much. It's just kind of like a small gripe I have. The color actually reminds me of the Tower 28 lip gloss in Pistachio, just like a nude pink. Really pretty. So that is my full face of makeup that I have been neglecting. And like I said, most of these products are things that I actually really like. And so hopefully this will kind of get me back into using these because they are really great products. It's just that when you have a lot of makeup, it's really easy for things to fall under the radar and just not get used for months and months. And I'm really trying to keep that from happening. So let me know if you would like me to make this like a regular series, because I think that would actually be really helpful for me. So if you liked it, I can definitely do more of these in the future. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also make sure you turn on the notification bell. Thank you to all of my patrons and channel members for your continued support of my channel. I appreciate you all, and I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!